I've beaten guys who've been to ADCC Worlds. Guys have been invited to ADCC Worlds who placed further down than me. I know I can be there. If it's not via an invite or a reserve, someone drops out, I'm going to have to win that trial. I'm in my opinion, the second hardest division. 77's the hardest, I'm in 66. Regardless of that, I know I can win it, man. I feel to some extent I've proved that. Of course, I can't say I've proved that. I've not won it yet, but I fucking know I can do it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Apter Party podcast. My guest on today's episode, Cammy Donnelly, is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. He's competed on some of the biggest stages in the world when it comes to BJJ, and he's recently just opened up his own gym in Glasgow, Metatech Grappling Academy, where we actually filmed today's episode. If you enjoy listening to today's episode, then please give us a like and subscribe because you'll help us grow the platform. And also check out our sponsors for today's episode, Paradeza. They are a cool Edinburgh-based clothing brand, and I've actually got on one of the t-shirts and the caps just now. And I'll provide a link to their website in the episode description in the show notes. So check them out, and thank you again for listening. Enjoy.
Well, there's loads I want to ask you here. I've obviously got a few questions prepared and stuff. We'll get on to. We want to talk about the difference between gi and no gi, but as well as obviously talk about your new gym, which has just opened up where we are here just now in Glasgow. Before we get on to talking about jiu-jitsu though, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, can I ask a wee bit just about your background? Where did you grow up, and what was life like for you growing up as a youngster?
Right, so where did I grow up? Typically this should just be a one-word answer, Glasgow. You're opening a can of worms with me, mate. So I had somewhat of a unique upbringing. Born in Glasgow, spent the first 8 years of my life here, went to primary here, relatively normal upbringing until I was about 8 years old. And when I was 8, my parents wanted to move to Spain.
Wow.
And that wasn't just like a pure, right, up out here decision. They had kind of lifelong friends, and they had done the move from Glasgow to Marbella. And then you know what it's like, mate, they were constantly like that to my parents. Oh, it's brilliant out here, you don't know what you're missing, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up going out on holiday. Yeah. And I remember this vaguely, mate, because I was so young at the time. Went there on holiday, and obviously me, I'm just a wee guy loving life, but the whole thing for them was to like, right, let's see if this is like something that we could actually do. So they did, mate, they loved it. So within a couple of weeks of getting back to Scotland, it was like, right, we're starting a brand new life, we're going to Spain. And look, I was excited. I can remember at the time being excited because, you know, I'd been over there on holiday for a couple of weeks, the weather was brilliant, and they had 2 boys my age. So it's not as if I was going over there and I have to like no pals or whatsoever. Like they had a couple of boys my age. So we went to Spain. This must have been 2005, 2004 even. 8 years old, I'm sure I was. And even as a kid, I can remember being excited about it initially. But mate, things quickly started to not be so exciting, because let me kind of preface this with, it's Spain, right? Nobody in the area speaks English. You know what I mean? So I get put into this school, and me and the 2 boys that I was just talking about were the only people in the entire school that spoke English, and I mean like a word of English. So put into there, and it's like I'm not in the same classes as these boys. Like I were at the same school, which is fine at fucking playtime. Do you know what I mean? But I'm in a room with people that I've never met before, and the teacher, nobody speaks a word of English, so I'm just sitting there like a mute.
Oh man.
Like, it's very, very difficult to like paint the picture of like how brutal that actually was, mate. Like imagine that situation even as an adult. So I was, like I said, I was 8, so mate, that was rough as fuck, mate.
How long did that go on?
3 years. Like that was the reason, we're going to get to this, right? This is the reason that we ended up moving away to America.
Right.
So we can definitely get into that, mate, because it all makes sense. It's very relevant to the question. So we spent 3 years in Spain, and don't get me wrong, mate, when you're flung into an environment like that, it's like there's absolutely nothing you can do but adapt. Even if you didn't want to, like, it's going to happen. It's very hard to live in Spain for that long at that age and not pick up Spanish. And I say that like it might be easy, but mate, it wasn't. It's actually, I deem that responsible for many characteristics that I portray in my adulthood. Like, if I can do that, I can do anything. It was probably the hardest time in my life.
Wow.
And look, Marbella, hardly a hard time. But mate, honestly, like, if you really put yourself in that position, even as an adult, it was brutal, mate. So don't get me wrong, life wasn't bad, but it was brutal in that regard. Everything else was fine. Fucking summer holidays, I don't name it, man, brilliant. But life during the school period, it was rough, right? So this leads me on to my next point, and again, relevant to the question. It was actually, because I've got a sister who's 2 years older than me, so obviously she was there as well, and mate, she could not handle it. Like, she was, again, vague memories from a long time ago. I can remember her kind of like greeting to my mum and dad about, oh, I can't do this, I get no education. So like, my parents actually put my sister in a private school, no me. I stayed in the jungle with the boys. But I think even past that, a couple of years later, I think my parents could see the deficiency in me. Like, I don't want to say I was ever dumb, mate, but they could see the deficiency with me in contrast to my sister, who was getting that good education. Look, get the best parents in the world, mate. Like, they could have just, no, we're happy, you're happy, like, but they seen that deficiency in me, mate.
Yeah.
So, and this next part's it's just fucking hilarious looking back. So, next question. Oh, how did you end up moving to America from Spain? Dad's got another mate.
In America.
Aye, mate. Dad's got another mate in Orlando, Florida. Again, childhood friend. Like, we're talking, my dad's been pals with this guy since he was like kids. You know what I mean? So, mate, it was like the exact same protocol. Want to go to Disney World this year? Fuck aye.
Of course
so
you do.
So
at that age, yeah.
the whole family went to Disney World. Again, mate, the wool was kind of pulled over the eyes a wee bit. This is, again, to kind of discern, is this like a place that we could potentially inhabit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we went on holiday, exactly like when it was fucking Airdrie to Marbella. Now it's Marbella to Orlando, but having a great time, going to the theme parks as you do. Have you ever been to Orlando?
Yeah.
Aye, so you know what it's like, mate.
Yeah.
Like, it's phenomenal, right? Of course, living somewhere and visiting somewhere, it's inherently different, but phenomenal. So I went and stayed with my dad's mate. They had kids, but I was older than them. But smashing, really liked it over there. So then we go back to Marbella. Same thing, mate, a couple of weeks later. What do you think about moving to Orlando? And I was thrilled on one hand, because it's like, I was no stranger to this type of experience anymore. And I'm like, oh my God, I can speak English. I can speak English again. It was a big thing for me. So I was elated about it. You know, there are some elements of sadness with regards to leaving Spain, definitely. But see the picture I just painted to you there, mate. Like, I'd like to. I was pretty much fluent in Spanish after the 3 years.
Wow.
But mate, there's just nothing like just speaking English again, honestly.
Yeah.
So when I was going over there and we went, I could get behind this. So not like I had a fucking choice anyway, that it was happening. And like I said, it was my parents kind of looking out for me, like we want to give Cam a proper education. I was too young to realise that at the time, but that's what was happening. My parents didn't want me being left behind in that regard. So up we go to Orlando, Florida. And again, mate, I'm just laughing at this because the answer you're probably expecting to that question was, where are you from? Glasgow. Right, moving on to the next question.
no, it's good.
Stop me if I'm rambling,
No,
mate,
not
right?
at all, not at all.
This
I'm
is
really
genuinely,
interested.
this is the answer to the question. So, so we moved to Orlando, right? And I should probably like mention, like, the school in Spain was rough as fuck, mate. Like, again, most people have this perspective in their minds of Marbella as a very you know, beautiful places, which it is, right? But everywhere's got their bad areas.
Yeah.
And that's the school we went to. It was in like a very, very bad area. So it was very, very rough. And then jumping ship to Orlando, like the school was fantastic, mate. Like good people, like good education. So I was happy, you know. I didn't have anybody there that I already knew, like the boys in Spain. But mate, that discrepancy didn't mean too much to me because, like I said, like the language and the education and all that shit, right, cool, I'm happy with this. So I had a phenomenal, probably another 3 years. Went to middle school, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and I left in my freshman year of high school. I sound like a dick saying that, right? But that's what it was. It's your freshman year.
Yeah.
Just everything that's portrayed in movies and that, it's like that's how it is, mate. It's your freshman year of high school. And mate, I had treasured memories there. Like, sometimes I actually forget it all happened until I sit and tell somebody about it, and it's like, fuck man, like that was a really good time in my life. So left Orlando freshman year of high school, so that maybe made me about 13, and then
there's loads I want to ask you here on all this, I wasn't expecting any of that.
Mate,
so
totally true, man. Totally true. Like, feel free to fucking.
I might interject with a couple of things.
Mate, this is a long story.
No worries.
Man.
No, I never knew any of this. So there's obviously a lot of stuff that I'd like to pick up on. Right?
Mate.
Did your mum and dad, did they settle in Marbella? Were they kind of happy with jobs and stuff like that? They settled in, but it was just you and your sister that were having. Well, your sister went to private school, so she's maybe had a bit of a better time. But yourself, you were having a hard time. Were you kind of treated like an outsider and stuff at school? Even when you picked up Spanish, fluent Spanish.
Mate, you're the gringo.
Right. Okay.
Like,
yeah.
That's a real thing, even at that age.
Yeah. Were you bullied? Was there a lot of bullying?
I was definitely a target, and I was an attempted target. Folk tried to bully me, but mate, I've always been quite mentally tough, like my whole life. Like, I never ever took that shit, man, like ever, and I never will. I'm not trying to like paint myself as this. I was a kid, you know what I mean? I was a young kid, by no means a big fucking hard man, but like mate, like I would literally like see if a group of boys like came up and started shit with me, I'd fucking lamp one of them, and then the rest of them would do me in. But then the next day, they're not coming over and doing it again because one of them knows they're getting it. I'm getting my cunt kicked in, but who's going to be the one of them that gets lamped first? Like,
it's interesting because I think when people go through experiences like that early on in childhood, it can kind of build a lot of resilience and toughness, and it's probably maybe in some ways kind of shaped the path that you've gone down.
Absolutely, mate. I said that earlier, that some of the characteristics I portray in my adulthood, I attribute to this experience. Yeah. You know? So
the move to Orlando, that was really purely just because you were having a difficult time. They wanted to give you a better chance.
Yep, and there was that external element of my family had friends out there.
Of course,
I didn't, of course, but my parents did.
Yeah.
And again, that's like an incentive.
Good connections.
It's not as if, right, we'll move to America, we'll go to fucking New York, right, start fresh. But like, again, my dad had those family friends, so it's like they can kind of show us the way. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You pretty much hit the nail on the head, mate. Like, my parents were happy. My sister, at that point, was happy because the school that she got sent to, the private school, it was like a school in England. In fact, it was the fucking opposite, mate. Everybody spoke English and hardly anybody spoke Spanish. But again, mate, I wasn't miserable. You know what I mean? I had the two boys. And we're probably going to talk about something later that like really changed the path of my life in that school. We can get to that soon, but my parents were really happy, mate. So for them to kind of forfeit that, just for me, best parents in the world, mate.
Yeah, definitely, you know what I mean? Definitely, 100%. Do you still speak fluent Spanish?
Not fluent.
No. Can you sort of get by?
The way that I like to describe it is my listening skills, very good. Like, see if two Spaniards come in here, rattling on, I'm catching 90% of it.
Yeah.
My speaking, it's no fluent, man. Speaking's decent.
Yeah.
I give myself a purple belt
Yeah.
and speaking Spanish.
I like that.
Black belt and listening to Spanish.
Okay.
You know what it's like, mate? Like, if you're not submersed amongst that,
Well,
like,
that's it.
I essentially hadn't practiced Spanish in 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much gone, mate. But I remember in school, I done 2 hires in school. I only got 2 hires in school, but one of them was Spanish, obviously. And what the fuck about that class was. And like the teacher was like, I had a love-hate relationship with the teacher because she couldn't hit me with Cammy, if you keep fucking about, you're going to fail. Like, I was better than her, man. Legitimately. So that's like one of the only hires I got because I spoke the language.
Brilliant.
But mate, fucking what a time.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
So, you obviously then went to high school in Orlando, right?
Middle school.
Middle school.
And then I left my freshman year.
You left your freshman year. So is that, what year would you be in here in the UK if it was your freshman year?
So I moved back to Airdrie. You know where Airdrie is?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. That's where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
So moved away from Orlando, moved back to Airdrie, and I'm 90% sure I get put into second year in Airdrie Academy when I get back.
So you got a little taster of this American high
the
school
high life, mate.
Experience.
Mate, this is fucking Airdrie to the fucking. Know what I compare the school in Spain to? You ever seen Prison Break?
Yeah.
Remember Sona in Panama? That was shot. That was shot in my school, mate. It was that bad. It was like run by the fucking. Know what I mean?
Really?
So I went for like. Mate, see the school I went to in Airdrie, the primary school? Brilliant, know what I mean? Area was fucking shithole, but like the school was good, mate. I had like good memories of that school. Then I went to fucking Sona in Panama, basically. And then I went to like the creme de la creme, like school, high school in Florida.
What was that experience like?
Oh man, here's a fun fact, right? Have you ever seen the movie Never Back Down?
Yes. Yeah.
What a movie, right? And like coincidentally, like MMA Jiu Jitsu, right? Like,
that's right.
That was filmed in my high school.
Really? Wow.
Cypress Creek High School in Orlando, Florida.
That's cool. That is cool. Were you doing like wrestling and stuff like that then? When you were...
mate, I wish. They typically don't start that until high school.
Right, okay.
And that's when I've just left.
Right.
But mate, without a doubt, had we stayed there, I probably would have joined the high school wrestling team, and who knows where that fucking path could have led. You know what I mean?
That's it. I know, totally.
Who knows, mate?
Were you, being in Orlando, were you like not constantly, but were you regularly visiting the parks and stuff like that? Like that?
Every weekend.
Yeah.
And my parents sometimes tell me stories like, right, we're going to Universal today, and like I'd like huff and go, again?
Really?
And they'd scold me and be like, how fucking lucky you cunt. And I'm like, do you know what? I remember how life used to be.
Yeah.
Like, obviously didn't have anything like this. It's like you're in a very unique position, and this is obviously, in retrospect, you truly understand what my parents were talking about. But like at the time, I was going Disney World, like Epcot, all the parks, Busch Gardens, all of them, every weekend, every single weekend, because we had the tickets that it allowed you to go to all of them, basically. Every weekend, mate. And it got to the point where I was kind of scunnered, mate. Like I reckon I've been on the rides more than anyone ever the UK, honestly, mate.
I bet you
probably rumbled my brain a wee bit in my youth and caused me to be a fucking a bit of a psycho the way I am now.
Yeah. So what happened? So you were there for three years?
Orlando, about 3 years, mate.
3 years.
So that was a wild ride, man. Very, very fond memories of Orlando. I still speak to the boys I went to school with, like on Instagram and that quite a lot. And I went there on holiday maybe about 7 years ago.
Wow.
Reunited, man. Like amazing, amazing place, amazing people.
Yeah.
So moved back to Airdrie, and I attribute that to a couple of things. Like my parents, they didn't really have friends out there, like, and you might be thinking, I thought you did. Well, see that guy that my dad was pals with, like the lifelong friend, he ended up moving back to Glasgow.
Right.
Not long after we got there.
Right, okay.
We stayed, life was great for us, and it's almost like things came full circle, mate, where like me and my sister had like great lives. It wasn't necessarily like that for my parents, like they didn't have any pals. Like, see, looking back, mate, they did everything for us. And I can, like, the enjoyment for them was like the weather and like doing things and going to the parks with us, but see, out with that, it's like, I think they almost grew tired of it almost.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard to imagine, but I kind of put myself in their shoes a wee bit, and like I can see that train of thought. So I moved back here. I was gutted, mate. Gutted. I can remember.
Yeah.
I can remember being distraught about that, like very, very like heartbroken, leaving all the boys, leaving that life, because I remember Airdrie. I had like distant memories of fucking Airdrie from when I was younger.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back there, man. Are you joking? I don't want to go back there to that. I'd rather go back to Airdrie than Marbella, and that's fucking saying something, mate, about the schools. I was a bit older, but still, that was my opinion. So wasn't happy to go back to Airdrie, but rather there than fucking Marbella, believe it or not. So I can remember going into the house in Airdrie. I was about 13, and I was just lying, like, unfurnished house, mate, in the middle of Airdrie, and I'm lying on like a hard floor, and I'm just staring at the ceiling, like, miserable.
Yeah.
And I try not to sound like a greeting face cunt here, because what an experience it was, mate. It's a unique experience that I grew up with.
For sure.
But I was gutted. Let's put it that way. I was gutted, man.
Just the weather, like when I was younger, I used to do seasons in Ibiza. I'd done like four summers in Ibiza, so I used to speak Spanish enough to get about my daily business. But like you're saying, like when you're not in amongst it, like you lose it
down in the dumps when you get back.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. When I would come back in October, and the weather would really change, I used to really get hit with seasonal depression. So even just like the weather, I can imagine would have had a big effect on you.
Aye, mate, and it was many things. The weather being one of them, and like I said, it was a very, very good middle school, high school experience, and then fucked into second year Airdrie Academy. Now, I don't want to say it was as bad as the Spanish school, but I'm probably just saying that because I couldn't fucking communicate with anybody. But then I go to Airdrie, and you're like, mate, that school was a fucking bear pit. Like pre-2010, like Glasgow was rough as fuck, mate. I know Airdrie's not Glasgow, but like surrounding areas, it's like, aye, mate, it was rough. Like, by no means as rough as the Spanish school.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Glasgow had for a while, it was like one of the highest murder rates in the whole of Europe,
Aye.
right? And the knife crime and stuff was obviously
aye,
through the roof.
that's what I came back to.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot better now. I was saying this to like the boys that were over for the opening, like Joseph and that. I was saying to them, like, Glasgow's great now, mate. Like, there's certain areas where you would avoid, of course, like any other place, but I was saying to them, it's like, even the area the gym in's, mate, Canning Park, like, that's a good area now. But like 15 years ago, I wouldn't have came through here on a motor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the Glasgow that I came back to.
Yeah.
So, school in Airdrie was probably similar to schools for like anybody around this area at that time. But you know, you meet people, you get settled in. Life wasn't bad, mate. Life was not bad at all. But I always remember what I had, you know, in Orlando and Spain when I wasn't in that fucking prison at school, man.
Yeah. Did you have an American accent coming back because you were obviously so young?
A wee bit.
Yeah.
A wee bit, mate.
Yeah,
Not fucking nothing crazy, because so my parents like were like fully fledged Glaswegian, so nothing mad. It was probably, looking back, see when I was like maybe out with my pals, like you'd probably hear a bit of an American twang there, but then it was weird because when I go back home and speak to my parents, it was like full-fledged Glaswegian again. But aye, a wee twang, definitely. I remember when I went back to Airdrie Academy, people were coming up to me and going like, are you the American cunt? Talk. And I'm like, mate, I was born here.
That's such a Scottish way, right?
Aye. Pure bams I know, mate. Like, I'd get fucking surrounded in the corridor by the young team. It's like, you the American cunt? Fucking say something. Mate, I was born here. Aye.
Yeah. Were you into sports and stuff then? Were you into sports as a young guy? Did you play any sports?
Believe it or no, football, mate.
Football.
And I say believe that or no now because I hate it now.
Really?
And I think, you know what made me hate football, mate? Coming back here and just seeing what surrounds it here. You know what I mean?
The sectarianism and
See,
stuff.
in Spain, it's just the love of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I kind of fell in love with it a wee bit when I was in Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, I played football for a team. I played all the time.
In Spain?
Aye.
Yeah.
Loved it. And then I kind of kept that on as I moved to Orlando. Joined it's fucking pish over there, right? It's like the birds that play football over there. You're considered like a wee bit of like a Jesse.
Yeah.
If you're a guy and you play soccer.
Yeah.
It's American football.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck yous, man. I loved it.
Yeah.
But like I said, like there was no real interest in it, so I kind of fell away from it a wee bit. And then when I moved back here, and like it was just everything that surrounded it, mate, that kind of made me hate it.
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously, people absolutely love it here. There's a lot of passion for it, right? And there's a lot to be said for the passion.
Mate, my dad's die-hard Rangers, die-hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot to be said for the passion and the atmosphere and stuff that comes with it here, but there's obviously a lot of problems that come with it as well, right? It can be really problematic. I know that on the days of Old Firm games, like the crime rate goes up so much, and even like
I should have fucked an Old Firm day, mate. Because there was one the other day,
yesterday.
Fucking deed in here, man.
Yeah. So I can understand. It'd certainly be a lot different. There'd be a lot of a different sort of vibe attached to it than there would have been when you were playing in America.
Like I said, mate, it was in Spain. It was just the love of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You look up to guys at the time. It was fucking Ronaldinho and just the love of the game, man.
For sure.
But here it was totally different. I kind of just grew to resent it.
Yeah. Obviously, want to talk to you a lot about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, right?
I know, we should probably get to that, mate. Like I said, like I probably just should have went.
No,
mate. Aye.
No, not at all. No, I find it really interesting.
Aye.
But yeah, obviously want to talk to you a lot about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, right? And grappling. But before we really get into that, there might be some people that are listening that actually don't know much about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or submission grappling, right? Maybe some people have tuned in because they've been listening to my podcast. Could you tell us, in your own words, a bit about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and submission grappling?
So Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is essentially an amalgamation of several different grappling arts, because you had judo, you had wrestling, you had Japanese Jiu Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, of course, deriving from Japanese Jiu Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, for those who are totally unaware of what it is, it's emphasised on ground fighting. That's changing slightly as the meta changes. However, generally speaking, Jiu-Jitsu takes place on the ground. You could use like street fighting as an example. It's like something like 90% of street fights end up going to the mat, or the ground. That's where it would be very applicable, right?
Yeah.
For anyone who watches MMA, Jiu-Jitsu takes place the minute the fight hits the floor, essentially, and it's predicated on joint locks, strangles, sweeps, dominating positions, maintaining positions where I'm safe and you're not, inflicting damage from positions where I'm safe and you're not, things like this. I believe it started, like I said, derives from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Helio Gracie kind of took what he had learned from the Japanese side of things and put his own flavour on it, and that's where the whole Gracie family era was born, and they made this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu system, if you want to call it that, and it was essentially almost like a family secret, I believe. You know, people could be calling me out on this. I'm not an absolute expert on the Gracie family history, but of course, if you're a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, you typically know this story to some degree.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to portray to the world the efficacy of Jiu-Jitsu, and then that's the story of the UFC. I think it was 1993. Boxers, karate guys, judo guys, you name it, UFC won, and Royce Gracie used Jiu-Jitsu to easily dismantle opponents regardless of any size or strength discrepancy, and Jiu-Jitsu was born.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are familiar with the UFC now, but if you look back at the first UFC, it was very different, right? There was not really any rules, no weight classes.
I think that's what it was. That's what it was advertised on, like literally no rules. Remember the video with the guy like in a crucifix just battering the cunt's balls?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No, so I mean now there is obviously a rule set, albeit it's quite a loose rule set in comparison to other sports, but there's a stricter rule set now. But then no rules, no weight classes, and MMA hadn't really developed as an art form, right?
So it was brawling, wasn't it?
It was basically like they wanted to try and assess what was the best art, right? Or they had boxer versus karate guy, judo versus whatever, as you said, and Royce Gracie representing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really rose to the top and won the first two, or
I believe it was the first
two or three.
Aye.
Am I right in thinking as well? So I've heard that at the time he wasn't actually deemed as the champion of the family.
That's what they say, aye.
Because he was more of a skinny, like less athletic guy.
He would be the best example to portray to the world. Because like you say, like I think they deem Hickson as the best, but cunt's shredded. Like you wouldn't mess with that cunt just at the sight of him. But
no,
that's why Hoyce was such a great example, because he like, just a regular skinny guy went out and whipped these boys, and that was definitely the best way to go about it. I think that's the whole reason it blew up the way it did, honestly.
Probably the best marketing strategy, right? To then sort of sell the art form, which obviously they then done. I think one of them organised the tournament, right? Was it Holler or I can't remember.
Hole's Horry and Gracie, something like that.
Yeah, one of them organised the tournament. So obviously a very, very effective marketing strategy.
Aye, big time, man.
So as an art form, as you mentioned, obviously you can see it happening in MMA regularly, right? It's really effective and applicable in MMA, and both in a self-defence situation, as you were saying. Most street fights end up on the deck, on the ground, right? But jiu-jitsu and grappling as a sport on its own is now really thriving, right? It's becoming more and more popular. So what does a grappling match or a jiu-jitsu match look like? What is the general rule set? Because I know that rule sets can vary depending on
there's
on
a
tournaments.
lot of rule sets.
What's the main objectives of the competitors?
Yep, so you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. Now you're asking for a general rule set. It's like really subjective, because you've got IBJJF, you've got submission only, ADCC, and the list goes on. Probably the most well-known rule set, if you even want to consider it as such, is IBJJF. You are rewarded for things like takedowns, guard passes, near submissions, positional dominance, things like this. Whereas other rule sets like sub-only, you're only really rewarded for submission attempts. But to answer your question, IBJJF is probably the most famous rule set, the most well-governed, if you will. The goal is always submission. Like, you could be down 20 points, someone could be dominating you, passing your guard, sweeping you, taking you down, putting you in your head. You're defending the whole match, you're down 20-0. But at any moment, you could strangle him, put him out, he taps. So the scoreboard doesn't matter much in scenarios like so, but that's why, me personally, I don't enjoy the points thing so much, because I believe it doesn't incentivise people going for submissions. They kind of play a safe game. And this is, like I said, it's subjective, mate. Everyone has their own opinions on this, but the goal is always submission. Sadly, some people aren't about that. And there's some people out there who've been competing for 10 years and they've never subbed a cunt in their life.
Really?
Aye. They're just all about racking up points.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, cool, mate, batter in. I'd be horrified if that was me.
Yeah.
Winning's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But it's how you win, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Obviously makes it more exciting to win by submission for people that are viewing and stuff as well, right? People want to see the submissions. That's like the exciting part
100%,
of it.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't portray that in a way like it's wrong to win by points. Of course it's not, but some people are just blatant in their, like, the way that they approach it, and they're stalling, and they genuinely go out there with no intention of looking to finish this thing. Which, I mean, I love this sport, but when I see that, I hate it at the same time. Like, me personally, the submission rate is everything to me. In every match I've ever won, I've maybe not submitted 2-3 people. That's what you want to strive for, in my opinion. Like you say, that's exciting. That's what grows the sport.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're just watching two guys back and forth, you know what I'm trying to say, mate?
For sure, yeah. So for stalling, so if somebody, say for example, passes the guard, right, like you were saying, for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what that means, it's basically sort of passing your opponent's main defence and getting to a more...
you achieve a dominant position.
You achieve a dominant position, but then from there they're just basically riding the time out.
Right? Because like you say, now they're potentially 3 points up, 3-0, contingent on how much time's left on the clock. They're like, I'm sitting here. And look, I get it, right? If I pass your guard and I'm winning 3-0, the onus is on the bottom guy to fucking hustle, right? But it's fucking criminal in my opinion when the guy just sits there and does fuck all. Aye, mate. Hate it.
So for every so you get 3 points to pass guards. Do you get 3 points to sweep an opponent and stuff as well, or does this depend on the governing body of the competition as well?
Yes. Yeah. But we're using IBJJF as an example, right?
Yeah.
I'm no qualified IBJJF referee.
Okay.
In fact, I've only done one IBJJF tournament from white to black belt.
Yeah.
I understand the rules, you know, generally, but there's certain things that, like, I could very easily tell you that something's grants this amount of points and I'd be wrong about it, because like I said, I've only done one.
Yeah, for
Me
sure.
personally, I prefer other rule sets, but IBJJF is probably the most famous one.
Which rule sets do you prefer?
Sub only, submission only.
Submission only.
Yep. Reason being, because as I discussed, it incentivises finishes.
Yeah.
Like, if there's no points to worry about, I'm going to take more risks. And when I take more risks, it's going to make the match more exciting.
Yeah.
If I am winning 2-0 and there's 30 seconds left, there's a part of me that's thinking, I could ride this out and win.
Yeah.
Again, I fucking hate that. But there's now an inherent risk of trying in case you get scored on. So I get it. But there's none of that in sub only.
No.
There's none of that.
Sub only matches, is there a time limit?
Again, it's kind of who's running the event, right? Different promotions, different tournaments. Typically, 10 minutes. Sometimes 15. There's even no time limit matches. I'm sure you've heard of them. They've went for 3 hours, right?
Wow.
But like, I think the one benefit to having points is there's a clear winner, no ambiguity. This guy's 10-0. No question about who won. It's the one drawback of sub only potentially, where it was tit for tat and it's like judge's decision.
Is that what happens if, so let's say it's a 15-minute sub only match, if it goes to 15 minutes, nobody's subbed, it's down to the judge?
It's down to the judges.
Right.
It's the one but what else you meant to do? You know what I mean? That's a good thing about points, there's a clear winner. Sub only, like I said, it's kind of predicated on who, first and foremost, was more aggressive with submission attempts, who was closest to finishing the match, and then beyond that it's like positional dominance, who controls centre mat, who's initiating more, you know. But yeah, there's always going to be those matches where I thought he won. There's none of that in IBJJF unless it goes to an even score decision. And
IBJJF, or matches that are kind of scored on points and stuff, am I right in thinking it's roughly, on the big stages, black belts and stuff, it's roughly like 10 minutes?
I believe black belt matches are 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And I believe brown belt is 8.
Right, okay. Anything under that?
I think it starts to go down incremental 7, 6, 5. Could be wrong, mate. Again, I never touched an IBJJF until brown belt. And that's the only one I've ever done.
Okay, fair. I mean, the submission only matches that have no time limit, wild. How are you still performing at that level? It's obviously such a physical sport, right? It's like 100% muscle on muscle at point, like strength. How are they still managing to?
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not like fucking Muay Thai where you're standing in front of each other just lamping each other, and the second that there's like a lull in action, the ref's separating these and shouting. There's none of that, right? We could go, like me and you could roll in this mat for 3 hours. Because maybe I'll pass your guard and maybe I'll pin you and mount. I can sit there and recover. Right? Now I know bottom guys, but he has to work to get out, but like if we're both fucked, like there's almost like a gentleman's agreement where we take a minute and go, you know what I mean? We're taking a break here, man.
I've definitely seen a gentleman's agreement, even in MMA where it's like they get against the fence and it's a bit like,
That's how the sub only no time limit matches can go 3+ hours, which many have done, mate, because there's several lulls in the action, especially when we start to creep into those hour-long matches. Those are very good for one thing. See, if you want to prove that, hands down, case closed, you're better than this guy, submit him in a no time limit match. But nobody wants to sit and watch that for 3 hours.
That's what I was going to say.
It's not viewer friendly. Like, terrible idea to put on a show, right? But if you want to prove you're better than a guy, there's no better way. But fuck, man, who's watching that? Because there's been several shows that have had no time limit matches, and they're just hoping that, you know, there's a sub after 10, 20 minutes. They roll for 2 hours. And I've seen shows where teammate from B Team, Damien Anderson, he had a no time limit match, and it went on for so long that mid-match, like, the boys just came in and went, right boys, we're just going to do golden score now. Next point wins.
Really?
How ridiculous is that?
Really?
And it's things like that like inhibit the sport from growing.
Yeah.
What other fucking sport is doing shit like that? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a strategy in place before you go into the match, right? I would imagine you've obviously trained for a specific rule set to then have that sort of dropped on you last minute.
1,000,000%, mate. What other sports doing that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You need to have like a plan for this.
Yeah.
You know?
I have heard some of the Gracies and some of the more sort of jiu-jitsu purists that were big stars in MMA back in the day when there was less rules and like less to do with time limits and stuff. I've heard some people saying that they feel like that the time limits and the rounds and stuff in MMA made jiu-jitsu slightly less effective in MMA, because obviously some of the other art forms do really well. People that are sort of predominantly boxing based or wrestling based or whatever. I've heard people like Hicks and Gracie and stuff saying that they think that jiu-jitsu would still be the main dominant art if there was no time limits, because of the way that, you know, that the art form works and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I would agree with that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But let's get one thing straight, man. You take guys like me and put them in MMA without the appropriate adjustments, you're going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing inverted guard, fucking berimbolo, entering the legs while a guy's hammering my head in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's vastly different in that regard. I think wrestling's the best base to have for MMA.
Yeah.
Albeit it's still a grappling art, but he can dictate where the fight takes place. If you're the better wrestler, right, are we standing or are we taking this to the mat? But I do see the argument for jiu-jitsu being the best base with regards to no time limit fights, definitely.
There's obviously 2 main variations of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? 2 main variations of the sport, gi and no gi. You mentioned this earlier, you touched on it earlier. The only time you're wearing a gi these days is teaching the kids, but could you talk to us a little bit about the differences between the 2 for anybody that doesn't know?
So for anybody that doesn't know, no gi, you're essentially just training in shorts and t-shirt, anything that's essentially like not too baggy, it's just whatever, you know what I mean? Like, let's not complicate it. It's just shorts and t-shirts, basically. Gi is the uniform or the kimono in traditional martial arts. You know, you see similar things: jacket, pants, belt, all of that. Again, vastly different. No gi and gi are both inherently different from like real life scenarios with MMA, but of course no gi is going to be more applicable for MMA. But it comes back to the point I made earlier: sport jiu-jitsu guys, whether it's gi or no gi, you're not doing that type of shit in MMA because you're getting your head caved in.
Certain movements and positions and stuff that you wouldn't do it in MMA because you're putting yourself in a bad position to be punched.
Absolutely, you're susceptible to getting knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, inverted guard, seated guard, even going for leg locks if you're not very, very proficient with off balancing and things like that. Like you're just going to get your head caved in.
Yeah.
But the difference between gi and no gi, like I thought it was just important to preface it with that. But looking forward, the main differences between gi and no gi is of course just the gi is like it's an extra weapon essentially. Anything you can do no gi, well, you can do it in the gi, right? Now, when I say that, the rules are different. You can't do certain submissions like heel hooks, but generally speaking, let's just take rules out of the equation. Anything I can do no gi, doesn't matter what clothes you're wearing, I can do it. The gi is an extra weapon with more moves involved. Like, there's so many more moves involved when you put a gi on. There's more guards, spider guard, worm guard. I could sit here for hours. There's more moves involved. It's hard, man. The gi's hard. And you know what I mean? A lot of no gi guys, like, they get raging when like gi guys say, "Oh, you're running for the gi." Mate, I've fucking nothing to hide here. Like, the gi's hard as fuck, man.
Yeah.
I used to prefer it. I really did. But then, you know, certain things, I met certain boys, I was learning certain movements, and I just, you know, I think, in my opinion, me personally, I just enjoy no gi more. But gi's hard, mate. Gi's very hard. And if I use myself as an example again, for me, see whenever they started taking lapels out, I know this won't mean a lot to some viewers, right? Worm guard and lapel guard. I'm just sitting there like, see when people would do that to me, I'm like, and yes, there was an element of I did not know how to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
But there was also an element of me sitting there like, this is shite. This is so far from reality for me that I started really to not enjoy it. And again, I'm not lying. It's hard work.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is piss. It's unrealistic. Yes, but I was never as good gi as I am no gi. That's just a fact, right? So gi's hard. Gi's harder than no gi probably. I'm just being honest, man.
Yeah.
I can remember just being held in those positions, and it's not for me. And I know a lot of things you'll do no gi aren't realistic as well relative to MMA.
Yeah.
But that was so far from reality, like way beyond far from reality for me, that I just kind of patched it.
Yeah.
I think I'm like one of the best in the world no gi at my weight class. But if I put a gi on, I'll be lucky to win Ravenscraig and Motherwell.
Really?
Bronze medal. Truly, mate. It's that different.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. It's hard.
There's an extra horrible factor about the gi, I find. Like,
see guys that are good in the gi, mate.
Yeah.
They will fuck you up, man.
Totally. Even like some of the submissions and stuff that you can use with the lapel. I can't remember what it's called, but there's one where like they wrap the lapel around your neck and then they roll. Man, and so I've had that done on me before. Like they
clock
do like
choke or something like that.
The clock choke, the forward roll, and I've had that done on me before.
Mate, there's some
like
brutal
your vocal
things.
cords are knackered.
You'll walk out and go home, and
Yeah.
your bird will accuse you of cheating on you because you've got fucking lacerations around your neck.
That's it.
Aye, it's rough, man.
Yeah.
And my
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
mate, I rolled in the gi for the first time in years last week, and fingers are fucked.
Yeah, the blisters on your
So
fingers.
fair play to the
and
boys
stuff.
that do it consistently, mate. It's
Totally.
hard. I don't want to sit here because there's this big gi versus no gi argument, and I just fucking laugh at cunts that engage in it. Like, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
The gi's harder. Like it probably is harder. But see, anything that's got more moves involved,
Yeah.
it's probably harder, man.
Slightly more complex.
Aye,
Yeah.
but let's just fucking let folk do what they want to do, right? They're both good. Do what you enjoy. Why can't it be that way?
I hear some people making the argument for no-gi being more athletic as well,
That's
more
true.
explosive.
Aye, that's true. I think if you had potentially like a typical argument you hear is like older guys prefer the gi because they can really deny the younger people of their athleticism in a more efficient way. Like, it all comes down to the robust grips at the end of the day. See, if I'm an older guy and I've got this young fucking athletic wrestler, for instance, but we're both white belts, it's going to be very hard for me to impose a game on you where I take your athleticism away unless I'm significantly better. But again, the argument I'm presenting here, we're both white belts.
Yeah.
Bring the gi into the equation, it's a different story, mate. And I'll use myself as an example. Again, back in the day when I was doing more gi than no gi, maybe a purple belt, I would roll with certain blue belts, even white belts that had a decent base, but they were strong, typically older guys. Mate, they get a sleeve, they get a collar, they put a foot in your hip.
It's difficult.
Pack a lunch, mate, because you're fucking there for the whole round if they want you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
And that's why I feel like a lot of older people prefer it, because they can essentially deny the young person of their athleticism. They take it off the table. And that's really what jiu-jitsu is all about.
Yeah.
But in the gi, I feel like with the robust grips that you can attain through the jacket and the pants, very applicable.
Yeah, definitely. When did you first come across BJJ then? When did you come across?
I was an MMA fan for years.
Yeah.
I remember probably the first fight I ever saw was Anderson Silva. Can't remember the guy's name, mate, but it was like one of Anderson's most famous knockouts where I think it was his light heavyweight, I think he went up to.
Forrest Griffin?
No. He caught a kick and from the captured kick, straight right, knocked the guy out. And I think that was like the first clip I ever seen in MMA. Funnily enough, it was in Orlando. So I'm sitting with my mates in a house and like a clip came up and it was Anderson grabbing the leg and punching. And again, I was maybe about 12 at the time. But I was like, I can remember thinking, like, so vividly I remember thinking, that was so creative. Because I'm thinking, see if that was me in a fight and I grabbed the guy's leg, I'm going to try and like maybe sweep the other leg out or just put him down. But that combination of like grappling and striking, he caught the leg and just straight right. I'm like, obviously looking at it now, it's like, aye, cool, that's very basic. But I remember thinking at the time, I was like, that was so creative, man. Like, that guy was focused on his balance and then just got walloped with a right hand.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I ever saw MMA. So me and the boys at that time religiously watched it, and we would try the moves, the striking, the grappling. So we'd always like have wee fuckabouts, and then we even bought the UFC game. Big MMA fans is basically what I'm trying to say. And I always wanted to try it, but circumstances essentially never presented me with the opportunity. And you know, when you're that young, you kind of say it in passing to your parents, but unless you really bug them about it or they wanted you to do it, probably won't happen. Plus I was like, you know, like playing football at the time as well. So I didn't actually try it until I moved back here. I met someone through a mutual friend, and this was in Wishaw. It was, mate. I used to hang about Wishaw a lot when I was younger, and I met a guy, and he was saying, "I've started MMA. I've been training about 6 months." It was higher level in Whitburn. It was in Whitburn at the time. Did you ever go to the old higher level?
No.
You've been to higher level. Aye, that's where I met you.
Yeah. Higher level in Bathgate, but not higher level in Whitburn.
So it was a tiny wee gym, but amazing fighters, amazing coaching. It was one of the ones where like you see like the credentials and the reputation of the team. It's like you'd expect to walk into this massive gym, which they have now. It's fit for purpose now, man. But at the time, you know, James was just kind of starting out, so we had a very small gym. So I ended up saying to that boy, "I'll come with you," and like that's how things really like started for me. I started doing MMA as an MMA fan, and then in typical fashion, you find jiu-jitsu through MMA. I feel like I just had a knack for it.
Yeah.
And I was just attracted towards jiu-jitsu more than the MMA side of things, mate. That's how I get started.
How long did you keep up the MMA before you decided that you were kind of just going to focus on jiu-jitsu?
Maybe 2 years.
Right, okay.
For like guys who were around at that time, most of them still are, a lot of them not. Like obviously my coach James, pro fighters from back then, Stevie Ray, you know, he was there. They'll remember me almost 10 years ago now, doing the MMA sessions, sparring MMA, doing MMA inter-clubs, getting MMA PTs off James, just doing it all, mate.
Yeah.
But even though I was doing everything, my jiu-jitsu was like just on this surge. Even while I was doing practicing all these other skill sets. My striking, I'd like to think for the amount of time I was doing it, it was competent. Mate, by no stretch of the imagination was I like fucking Mark Ewan lighting cunts up and looking at McNeil, but
yeah,
you know, I felt good on the pads. I felt like my technique was competent.
Yeah.
And you know, kind of like riding a bike, you never really forget. I'd probably look dreadful on the pads now considering I haven't done it in about 7 years.
Yeah.
But I can remember at the time, you know, if it's like me when you get into that flow state, I did enjoy striking, but it got to a point where, like you said, how long did it take? Maybe about 2 years in. Do you know what it was, mate, now that I'm talking about it? I injured my hand striking. So I couldn't strike, but I could still grapple. So I took 2 weeks, I said to me, I'll take 2 weeks off Thai, take 2 weeks off sparring, and I'll just do jiu-jitsu. I saw jiu-jitsu in a different light when I was just doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It had all my attention. I felt better. I had more time to study jiu-jitsu. I put all my attention into this one skill set. And in that 2 weeks, I said to myself, I feel like I could be one of the best in the world if I did this.
Wow.
But I didn't feel with that with MMA. And I know it's not like I was a pro that fell out of love with the sport. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to say it was a dangerous place to be, but mate, if you don't have that belief in yourself, with MMA, it's dangerous.
Yeah, that's
it. Knocked the fuck out, man.
Dangerous sport. The risks are higher, right? There's more risk involved.
I never really felt like I had that factor for MMA. Who knows? See if I kept doing it. Who knows? Maybe I would have made it to pro, and like, who knows, mate? Right?
Yeah.
Not going to say this or that because there's just no way of proving it. Maybe I would have been good. Maybe I would have been shite. But what I do know for a fact is I felt personally that I could do things with jiu-jitsu that I could never do with MMA. And I don't want to say I've proved that because I never did MMA, but fuck me, man. I got to where I am because of that decision.
Yeah. What do you think makes practicing it so enjoyable or so special? Right? You touched on flow state earlier. You mentioned
That's a
that.
thing.
And we're talking, I had Mark Ewan on the podcast, you mentioned him as well. Me and him were talking about that. But for me, when you're rolling, and not if you're getting absolutely smashed, but if you're having a good round with somebody and it's back and forth, you're reversing positions, you're transitioning, even maybe a bit of scrambling and stuff, there's just something that just feels like you get in flow state, but just something just feels right about it, right? And I've kind of heard some people saying that, you know, when you look at animals, they like roughhouse each other and stuff like that. Like my dog, when he's playing with other dogs, he'll like roughhouse, and there's something like primal about it, right? Instinctive about it almost. But at the same time, obviously, you're not not losing brain cells by getting like punched in the head. So I'm wondering if there's something within us that's kind of like our base instinct that makes
100%, mate, 100%. I've heard Dana White say on many occasions it's like fighting's in your DNA, all that pish, right? And I know this isn't on that same level, but at the end of the day, it falls under that category. And not to mention the never-ending list of benefits that come with it. Like, it's fun. There's literally no better way to keep fit. Like, mate, see if and on occasion my diet is very, very bad, right? See if I have to like cut weight for a few weeks, and they're like, right, it's time to get back on the scran here. Like, I'll eat like pure shit, mate, for weeks, but I'll not gain a pound.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing this every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's things like that, and once you come to realise that, the list goes on, mate. Self-defence, and like you say, it's just you find yourself in that flow state, and people compare that to a high that, like, people come in here and say that it's like they do this to kind of get off the gear or whatever, and they just need that thing to have the same effect on their brain, and that's exactly what that flow state will do. And there's nothing like that flow state when you feel that in a comp or in a fight. It's different, man. Like, flow state's flow state, right? It's great, you feel it in the gym, you're on fire, but when you're able to impose that on someone in a comp or a fight, it's different stuff, mate. It's very addicting. People should try it and feel that.
How long had you been training before you decided that you wanted to compete?
I done my first competition less than 3 months into training, which was embarrassing looking back, right? Now, like, see if I had a boy in here who'd been training for 2 months and he said, I want to compete, I would never tell him no. But I would obviously give him my advice and say, like, you're probably better waiting a wee bit. But I see myself in young kids coming up to me and asking that. I was like, mate, I remember at the time I just wanted to do it, but I didn't know anything. But you're just so hungry and you just want to get in about it, or your teammates are doing it. Okay, I'll give this a try. So I would never tell someone not to compete, even if they've just been training a couple of months. What's the worst that's going to happen? As long as he knows to tap, you know what I mean? Get that experience. But I knew nothing, you know, apart from like I said to you earlier, what I'd maybe seen on the telly and what I learned in like the 6-week beginners course, which was essentially, you know, I wasn't good at applying it at that point. I went to a tournament. I'm rattling my brain here to try and remember where it was. I want to say it was in Aberdeen.
Wow.
I think maybe the year was 2015, and I think it was like an in-house no-gi sub-only comp in Aberdeen.
Wow.
At a gym up in Aberdeen. I only had one match and I won. The boy was somehow worse than me. I tried to pull guard and like basically pulled mount. That's how bad I was, and then I somehow ended up on his back and strangled him. You
got the win in.
Got the win, and that was that. Straight away, I was terrible, but I got that win, and I'm like, I'm going to be the best ever. You know what I mean? Not quite, but I got that feeling, mate. But somebody's listening to this and they know what event I'm talking about. Definitely hit me up, because I hadn't actually thought about that for years. It's been a long time since somebody's asked me that question.
Yeah. How many matches have you had now? So that was 10 years ago, right? How many matches have you had now?
I mean, I've had a lot, but it should be more. I regret not competing more through the lower belts. There's probably, see guys that compete every weekend, you get them, your blue belts, whatever. There's guys out there that compete every weekend. There's probably blue and purple belts out there who have more matches they have more time under their belt and comp space than I do. It's very hard for me to even give an estimate on how many matches I've had, but not as many as you'd think, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I would have thought you'd had a lot, to be honest.
It's a lot, but nowhere near as... See, like other black belts that compete at my level, like guys that I'm competing against now have probably had thousands of matches. I'm nowhere near that. Nowhere near it, right? And that's a regret of mine. Like, anybody that's watching this that's maybe... You don't have to be a white or a blue belt, maybe even a black belt. Maybe you're sitting in the same position as me, but you're younger than me. I would definitely compete more.
Was there a conscious decision then to... What was the reason for not competing more at your earlier belts?
It was the money. And I'm not saying I didn't have 60 quid to go and do a comp. Every penny I had was put to going away to train abroad. And that's something I'm sure we'll talk about soon. But basically, it was the money thing. I only did one... I had one match at white belt. See that one that we were talking about? Fucking hell. Again, I've not had this conversation in a really long time. I've had one match at white belt. That is me just realising that. I did that, and then for some reason I didn't do another one at white. I think I signed up to another one at white and got injured and never done it. And then I got my blue. I got my blue fairly quickly. And competed a good number of times at blue. Nothing crazy. Never won a blue belt comp, by the way. I lost every single one. I got a few silvers here and there. But basically, mate, to sum it up, I've not done as many matches as you think.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought you would have had a lot of matches.
I should have more. That's a regret of mine.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, had I engaged in competition a lot, it might have resulted in my training camps suffering, which is the whole reason why we're here today. So it's a regret on one hand, but I wouldn't change anything really on the other.
There's another side to the coin with it, really.
Definitely.
People that haven't competed or haven't really participated in the sport in that way probably wouldn't realise, or they'd be surprised to hear that as like an amateur competitor on like local level, you do have to pay to do these competitions, right? And they're not cheap. Like as you said, it could maybe be like...
And they're also
60.
not extortionate. But you know, at the time that we are discussing, I was 18, didn't have a job, but I knew I wanted to do this. But it was one of the ones, mate. You know, every penny I had, it was put into going and seeking out external inputs in the form of the best training in the world. I had the best base I could have asked for, higher level. Had I started somewhere in Scotland that wasn't higher level, I truly believe things would be different, you know, because there's higher level and then there's other gyms in Scotland, we'll say that. I had the best base I could have possibly asked for, but for what I wanted to do, it didn't really exist here. So I had to do it, man. I had to put everything I had into travelling.
We'll touch on that just now then, because obviously you've mentioned that you were going away to travel and you chose to go and seek out some of the best training that was on offer. So when did you actually first go out to America?
America.
Was that the first place that you went, or did you...
Right, so this is... I've told this story before, right? So I won't sit and like tell it all from start to finish again. Basically, mate, remember I was telling you about the horrific school in Spain?
Yeah.
My last year in that school, a Canadian boy was enrolled into the school, 9 years old maybe, and they remember I said like nobody could speak English.
Yeah.
So the teachers were obviously aware that I could speak English and he could speak English, but obviously they couldn't. So I remember standing in line 8:30 in the morning. You were to line up every day outside the number that was, mate, that's another thing about this school. I wish I could talk more about this school, right? They would write in pencil on the concrete floor, like your class number, and you were like that, trying to see it every day.
On the concrete floor? Right. What, your class?
Your class number.
Right.
Like 4A, 5A,
right,
and like be down like that, trying to see it. Anyway, that's another story, right? But, so I'm standing in my wee line, and a teacher like walks up with a wee boy, and she's like basically holding him by the scruff of the neck, and she like nudges him towards me, and she says, "Amigos." She goes like that with her fingers. "Amigos, see?" And I'm like, and then he said hello, and I'm like, "Hello, mate, hello." I'm like,
because he speaks English.
Yes, right. Yeah. Again, I won't get into this big long story, mate, but he's Canadian.
Right.
he moved away. We didn't see each other for 10 years, kept in contact for a long time because we got very close, right? It's hard to not be close with the only other person in your fucking class that speaks your language, so we got to be very close friends. He moved away. He was originally from Montreal. Kept in touch for 10 years. And then I went out to visit him when I was 18. And I'm 6 months into jiu-jitsu at this time. So it's nothing to do with jiu-jitsu this trip. I'm going to visit my mate. Touched down in Montreal. Obviously, I've been training. I'm a big MMA fan. I'm a big GSP fan. Montreal. So we get there. You know, we do all the things we need to do. We're just happy to be with each other again, mate. But then I think a couple of days in, I was like, "You know GSP, mate?" And he's like, "Aye." I'm like, he lives and trains here. Like, he's a superstar in Montreal, so everybody knows who he is, even if you don't really know what MMA is. And I'm like, let's see if we can find out where that gym is. I'd like to go to it. You know what I mean? Like, if that's all right with you. And he's like, "Ah, cool." So turns out it was like a 5-minute drive away from his house.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what it's like at white belt? Like, you'd rather walk into a new place with a mate. Again, if he didn't want to go, I would have went anyway, but I was at him. "Come, try it out, mate."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm no expert. I'm a white belt as well. Like, let's go together and do the beginner's class or whatever." So we go in, and like, I really just wanted to meet GSP, but he wasn't there that time.
Gutted.
He wasn't there. It was like the middle of winter, mate, in Montreal, and it's like -30.
I was going to say, I can imagine it being
So
mega
this
cold.
GSP's
and
probably
snow
living up in Miami or whatever in that time of year, so he wasn't there. So I done the class, and that's where I met all the guys who are now, like, not all the guys, but that's where I met Ethan Krellinston, who is like now B team. That's how I met him. That's how everything happened, mate. Yeah. That's a very, very long, ridiculous story condensed into a few minutes, but that's how it all happened. I met Ethan. He introduced me to John and everyone in New York. I got inspired by what I saw from the minute I saw it. So then I went out to America the following year, pretty much every year until COVID.
This was to New York?
Yep.
To New York, to Renzo Gracie's gym, right,
Yep.
which is obviously legendary.
Yeah, that would have been when I was 19 the first time I went there.
And Renzo Gracie is part of the family that
We
spoke
discussed
about
earlier
on, Gracie family.
Yeah.
Who are kinda,
So Renzo Gracie's obviously very famous in the sport. He's got gyms all over the world. But he had someone named, for the people that don't know, he had someone named John Danaher teaching there who was like a well-kept secret early on. And I kind of got involved with those guys a year or two before they kind of exploded. So that's how I was like very inspired by what I was seeing. And so everyone went there for John. Everyone that knew about John went there for John. And then when that whole team exploded, fucking hell, man, that place just erupted. Like, everyone was going there for John and the team.
I bet.
It was good, man. It was a good time.
For people that don't know, the name of the team became the Danaher Death Squad, right?
DDS,
and
Danaher Death Squad.
DDS, and the group of guys that he was training really went on to become like the biggest names in
Even
the sport.
still today, like, this is the time I'm describing, me being 19, so this is 8 years ago. Even today, those guys are still the greatest. No-gi.
Yeah. Gordon Ryan particularly is kind of known as being the most successful grappler of all time, right? He's won the most
With regards to
championships.
no-gi, he's won everything there is to win.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the best guy.
Tell us about some of the experiences training alongside these guys under John Danaher and alongside Gordon Ryan. And
An interesting bunch. I'll say. John's, you cannot deny what he does. As a coach, he's incredible. And I learned a lot from him with regards to coaching acumen. I try and steal, like everybody does, mate. See now, like everybody kind of like steals things that John does, and that's just the nature of the sport. You emulate the best guys. So my teaching nature tends to resemble his, just from, you know, learning from him for so many years at that stage. But you pick things from everybody, you know. I pick things from James, I pick a lot from John, I pick a lot from the B team guys now. It's like, that's how it works. But you cannot deny the guy's coaching, but my God, man, the guy's pretty rough. Like, you're terrified to, and not me, by the way, I'm talking about like the actual squad, like his core students. I was never his core student, right? I just learned for the guy.
Yeah.
So there was never any real pressure on me. But see his core students, like the guys who are now B team and like all the guys, the names you know,
Yeah.
they were like genuinely terrified to make mistakes in front of this guy
Really?
because he would be in such a bad mood about it.
Wow.
They openly talk about this, like on like Ethan's podcast and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you'd go into training like nervous to fuck up.
Really?
Aye.
Wow.
Because he'd just be like, he'd just go off the nut at you.
He comes across like such a...
He's fucking terrifying, mate. He is.
Is he?
Aye.
On camera and stuff, like he comes across as quite like a sort of softly spoken, like polite.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine him losing the rag with
Oh, he's
somebody.
pretty rough, mate.
Wow.
He's pretty rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
That in a way I almost kind of feel like obviously he's producing the best grapplers, or
Cannot deny his coaching.
the best grapplers, but I feel like in a way maybe for some people, depending on your personality type, that would maybe be like slightly counterproductive to be.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's one of those things, mate. He's he can be very rough. He can be very moody.
Yeah. How long did you spend training there at Henzo's place?
So that was obviously I wasn't out there full time.
No.
But I was doing 3-month trips up to twice a year.
Right.
So almost like between 4 and 6 months a year
Right.
out there.
For how many years?
That was from age 19 until COVID.
Right.
So 4 years ago that stopped,
Right. Okay.
roughly. Yeah. So it kind of started with me higher level, got inspired by Ethan and Oliver Taza, Pierre Leclerc at TriStar, made the move to the trips to New York. Then I can actually remember we were booked to go for my next trip. Like it was a case of, see, when I got back, the next one was booked. You know what I mean? I come back here, practice what I've learned, then go back and rinse and repeat. Next trip was booked. COVID hits. That was a big question mark. Obviously that trip got cancelled. But very soon into that whole fucking shit show, they decided to move because of you know how like each state has their own rules essentially. It's like state to state, the rules can differ. And New York was one of the particular states that was very ridiculous with the rules. So they moved to Puerto Rico because they were very lenient with the rules. You don't have to pay taxes, among a million other reasons that they kind of told me why they were moving to Puerto Rico. So I'm like, right, I guess I'm going to fucking Puerto Rico when I'm allowed to fly. Looked into it. They were training out of like a tiny wee gym, like a tiny gym, mate. Like maybe the whole gym was smaller than the blue mat at higher level.
Wow.
And the best team in the world were training out of it.
Yeah.
Thought
How many bodies?
Loads, mate. Loads.
Really?
Not hundreds, because obviously they'd like just cap it, but
Yeah.
it was mad, mate, because it's like, right, what are the best team in the world doing training at this tiny wee gym in Puerto Rico? It's because they were trying to get their own space sorted, having real problems doing so. So they were training in this tiny wee gym that like sometimes the lights wouldn't even turn on, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But
Yeah.
so I'm like, right, I guess I'm going to Puerto Rico. And then before I was ever able to go there, that's when the team split.
Okay.
And that's when the whole ship moved to Austin.
Yeah, that's obviously been spoken about quite a lot on other podcasts and stuff. It's quite a notorious thing for people that are into the jiu-jitsu scene. They probably know about it already, and we obviously won't talk too much about that. But basically, the team split in two, right? John Danaher and Gordon Ryan and a few others obviously went one way, formed a new team called New Wave. And then Craig Jones, Nicky Ryan, who's Gordon Ryan's brother, and Nicky Rod formed B Team, right? And you now train at B Team. Were you at a bit of a crossroads at that point where you were going to go and train?
No. So I'm just trying to think of the right way to approach this. Like I was pretty much always going to go where Ethan, Nicky, and like those guys were going, right? It's hard to give you very concrete reasons without saying things that I don't want to say. But basically, I was always going to go where Nicky and Ethan were going to go. To answer your question, though, I wasn't at a crossroads with where I was going to go.
There wasn't. No, you were always.
No, I was always going to like Don't get me wrong, it was like the team would have, of course, it would have remained stronger had they been together. And I was just there because I really wanted to learn from these guys. Every single one of them, I wanted to learn from all of them. But to answer your question, like, it was always for me, like, I was always going to go where Nicky and Ethan and those guys went.
Are you pretty close?
Yeah, like I think I'm pretty close with Nicky and Ethan over the other guys. You know, I don't really. I'll talk to Craig from time to time on Instagram and shit, but I only really see him when he's in Austin, which actually isn't that much. Nicky Rod, honestly, like, not like I rarely ever speak to Nicky Rod. It's just like when I come by, he's like, "Hey, what's up, Cammy? Nice to see you again." But it's like I've known Nicky and Ethan for the longest, and I've always kind of considered them my main coaches when I was making these trips, whether it be Henzo's or B team. So yeah, I was always going to go where those guys were. Like they've done so much for me with regards to elevating my game. I was just in Qatar with Nicky for 3 weeks in January.
Wow.
Mate, just an amazing time out there, and like I feel like we like got a lot closer out there as well.
Yeah.
So I made like pretty much wherever that guy was going to go, I was going to go.
Was he competing out there or?
No, so there's a sheik that wanted. He had an event coming up, and I'm telling you this story exactly how it was told to me. It's like, there's a sheik who's a part of the Qatari royal family who has an event coming up, and he wants like some of the best guys to go and train with him. He's a lighter guy, he's like 63 kilos or something, so we're looking for lighter guys to go out and train with him. This is Craig that's phoning me and telling me this. You know, Craig, I was like, where's the BAM up coming in here? Do you know what I mean? This isn't true. There's not a Qatari royal fucking millionaire that wants me from fucking Scotland when there's all these other B team guys who are lighter. Like, come on, mate. So I'm like waiting for the punchline. He's like, he's been serious. He's like, mate, he asked me to get our best lighter guys to go out and train with him. And I'm like, mate, if you're being serious, I'd love to do this.
That's amazing.
So Craig set that up with the sheik. Nicky was injured at the time. He got injured in a match versus Jonatas Gracie, like fucked his ankle up really badly. So Nicky said, well, I'm not competing, I can't train 100% intensity, I'll come out. So I would have went, you know, regardless, but when I heard Nicky was going out, I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely go out, mate, because that's just as beneficial for me being around Nicky as much as it is Soman, his name was. Shout out Soman.
That's
love
the
it.
name of the sheik.
Yeah, loving this Soman, legend. Wow. And it's so funny, right, because I tell you this story the exact way he told me. It was like, yeah, he's training for an event. I'm like thinking it's like the Qatar Ravens, Craig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Qatar Open. Hey, it was one championship.
Really? Wow.
The match on one championship.
Wow.
And I didn't find this out until I landed and met the cunt. Like, Craig said that you're training for an event.
He's obviously like, pretty good.
He's good. Yeah, he's good. He's a black belt.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're training for an event? He's like, yep. I'm like, so what's it like? Is it just like an open? Or he's like, it's called One Championship. And I just fucking laughed. Right? I'm like, One Championship? I'm like, what the fuck? Are you fighting Mikey Musumeci? He's like, no, I'm fighting this black belt, lightweight guy, whatever. Yeah, I thought that was fucking hilarious, mate. So we spent a few weeks out in Qatar. What a place, man. And obviously
was it?
Nicky's ankle started getting better, so we started having some hard rounds, and it was fucking great, mate.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Good experience for you.
I said to some man, I was like, mate, you want me there? I'm there like this. What a place, man.
For anybody that's listening that doesn't know what One Championship is, it's like one of the biggest martial arts promotions in the world.
It's like the Asian UFC. So
exactly.
when man came out and said to me, it's an event called One Championship, I was like, fucking what? No one, you want like, all the boys out here.
And they also have, as well as having MMA, they also have pure grappling matches, which your guy was training for, and like Muay Thai matches and kickboxing matches and stuff like that as well. It's pretty cool. The promotion is really cool.
Yeah,
actually.
definitely, mate.
You mentioned Craig Jones there, obviously, right? Craig Jones, for me, is probably the funniest guy in combat sports at the moment.
Best personality.
His personality's great. His content's great. He really cracks me up tuning into all his social media content and stuff. So I wanted to ask you, what's he like in real life to be around? Is Is it always a joke and a laugh and patter, or is it just
it brings me right back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
He's messaging me and he phones me. Because I didn't believe him. So that's just classic Craig. And I'm like, there's no danger of it. This is actually real. He's like, no, it's real. So like that just kind of portrays exactly what we're saying. He's just like that all the time. So you never know what's fucking genuine and what's not. But mate, I remember like, see back in the New York days, like he was always like full of banter, but it's like nothing. Like he's basically an influencer now.
Yeah.
He's like nothing like what he's on the now.
Yeah.
And now obviously because I think he realised like his like how talented he is in that regard, like how good his patter is. Like it's almost like he's just realised that after the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
And he's gained like 200,000 followers in the last couple of years.
Wow.
So he recognises that. He's a smart guy, so he's riding this wave, and you see how he just slaughters cunts on Instagram, mate.
I'm not surprised, to be honest, that he's gained so many followers in the last couple of years, because the content is so good. And I've seen older interviews of him and that, and I'm thinking like, it seems like a different guy with it.
See, when I first met Craig, his name on Instagram was something like Jiu Jitsu Traveller, and like nobody even like knew who he was, obviously, but like nobody, after the breakout performance at ADCC, nobody could find him on Instagram because he was like Jiu Jitsu Traveller or something. And I like next to like no followers. Look at him now, man.
People listening should go and give him a follow on Instagram, because he's
like you're not interested in jiu-jitsu, cool, but the cunt's funny as fuck.
Yeah, definitely great sense of humour.
Like he was out in Ukraine. Like mate, like this is nothing to do.
Some of the posts for Ukraine really cracked me
nothing
up,
to do with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Just follow this cunt, man.
Totally.
Aye.
So obviously we're here at your new gym, Metatech, which has just opened up in Glasgow, right? I said to you when I first came in a few weeks ago how impressive the facility is. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what you've got on offer here in terms of coaching, classes, and the facility as well.
Yeah, so we've been open for about a month now, and of course I'm known for my no-gi accomplishments. So of course most of the classes here are no-gi. We do have a couple of gi classes. Currently on the timetable at the time of this filming, there's like 25 classes. I wanted to start out with essentially ramming the timetable to the brim to gather accurate data. So I know at all times of the day through the week, I can gather data on morning, noon and night, what's good, what's not so good, what could be improved, what's doing well organically. So at the time of the filming, 25 classes, but we're going to reduce this week coming. We've gathered the data. We're pretty much going to keep everything as is, maybe get rid of some of the noon sessions, but not much is changing. So there's still an abundance of classes. I really wanted to found this gym on the highest level of coaching, the best facility in every regard, the cleanliness, facilities themselves, volume of classes, not just the technical application that's taking place in these classes, but the volume of classes themselves. I just wanted to be like essentially, I wanted to reside at the top in every single asset. You know, at the end of the day, it's still a new gym, right? There's still a lot that has to be done. I'm learning a lot with regards to the business side of things. I've got the best mentors I could ask for with regards to the business side of things. My mate Ross, Sam, like these two guys know everything when it comes to business. That's why we're such a good team. I'm an expert at what I do over here, and those guys mentor me with the business side of things. But yeah, mate, to really just answer your question, bunch of classes, gi, no gi, wrestling, Q&A sessions. We've got the cold pool, the sauna, loungers, things like this. It's all on the way. That's like the real main event back there, man. But the mats, like the space you see here behind us, these are, for those who don't know, these are Fuji mats. Same mats they have at B Team, albeit these are the smooth Fuji mats. You get tatami Fuji mats, which are a bit rougher, and these are the smooth Fuji mats. So these are like the best mats, hands down, you can get on the market. Not just saying this, go and do the research. Every gym that's kind of synonymous with like the highest level of coaching, the best facilities, they have these mats. It's actually a raised sprung floor. So you mentioned yourself, you've been on it. There's a good bit of give on it.
Yeah.
Like typically you walk into a gym and it's like the mats are just kind of laid over the floor as is. If you're a big guy taking another big guy down, or even worse, a big guy taking down a small guy, man, that's cracked ribs. That's concussions.
Yeah.
You can be a bit rougher in here. Like, not that it incentivises being rougher, but basically what I'm saying is you're safe on these mats. Shout out my man Martin. Really wish I remembered the name of his business. That's terrible. Martin Anderson sorted this LED light strip for us, man. This is cool. See when it's dark outside.
Yeah.
And you see this for the outside looking in, it looks absolutely minted, man. The composite decking is running around the perimeter of the mat. I think this like complements it really, really well. This the colour scheme, white and grey. Shout out Timberline Joinery. Those boys pretty much did everything with regards to this whole element of the gym.
Yeah.
Mate, look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in and done a couple of classes where you know I can certainly say it is. It's an amazing facility and the coaching's top notch. And I've not had the chance to use the cold plunge or the sauna or anything like that, but it's wicked that you've got that there as well.
Aye, man. There's a lot of inspiration behind this gym. Like obviously B Team being one.
Yeah.
Apter Jiu Jitsu. Like a lot of people kind of see obviously what they have is like they're like the model guys to like if you want like a gym of kind of like this nature and like just the colour scheme and all these things, those are the guys you kind of model after. Yeah. So there's obviously a hint of AOJ in here in that respect, but I'm so happy with it, man. It's cleanest spot about, mate. I'm so happy.
Kieran Reid's taking the gi classes as well.
Yeah, so he does gi and no gi classes here.
Right.
So he's helping me out, man, because he was actually away with Paul Craig in Rio for the last couple of weeks, so I've been doing everything. Right. It was pretty rough, but it's good when Kieran's here, man. There was no one else I wanted for the job, man. Yeah. Because he's about like the gym name was like founded on this philosophy of like the latest and greatest technology in the sport, and Kieran epitomises that as well, man. So it's like, it's very hard to find someone to fit like the criteria that I wanted, and Kieran epitomises it, mate. Yeah. Just, you know, the name Metatech. I really like these names, like higher level, new wave, that conveys and expresses innovation, modernity. That's what I wanted. Yeah. So I kind of married those two words together, and just to your point there, Kieran epitomises that, mate. So that's why I want him in here as much as he wants to be in here.
Yeah, he's a great guy as well, obviously. Shout out.
I just like, mate, apart, like, take the coaching acumen to one side, like, he's just a great guy to have in the gym.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Good banter, says it how it is. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. For anybody that's considering taking up jiu-jitsu as a hobby or would like to get into the sport more seriously, what advice would you give?
Actually, that's a very common question that comes up, and the generic answer is just go, just get your foot in the door. Because you sometimes forget what it's like. Like you mentioned yourself, mate, you're a blue belt. That tells me that you've been training consistently for a number of years. Even at your stage, you sometimes forget what it was like to look back, put yourself in the white belt's shoes. It's quite intimidating. Like, look at me, for example. I didn't even consider starting until I met that boy that said I train at a higher level. So I'm like, right, cool. That's how I get my foot in the door. But that's not the case for everybody. The case is like, I want to start, let's find a reputable gym and let's go. Intimidating walking in there by yourself when you don't know what to expect, you don't know what you should be bringing. You know what I mean? You're going into the unknown. Yeah. And especially for women, because what everybody does, regardless of gender or anything like this, you look the gym up and you get a feel of like you see some footage. 99% guys. So for women, it's like the first thing they're thinking is there other women there? I'm not going unless my pal's coming with me. Men, women, just go. I promise it's not this big scary thing.
You won't regret it.
It's the best thing you'll ever do, man.
I would, genuinely. Definitely. I've got to agree with that. I do think it's one of the best things you can do. I feel like for young people as well, like when I have kids and stuff, I really want to encourage them to try and learn it as well, because I think it's so beneficial to you. It teaches you so much. Being conscious of time, because I know that we're kind of running short here, is there any advice that you could give for someone who's already a hobbyist or a competitor and practicing jiu-jitsu, in terms of learning, improving your game, training, skill acquisition, etc.?
Yeah, so regardless on your goals, you should always be, one of your goals should always be skill acquisition. And I say regardless of your goals, because some people want to be a world champion, but this guy over here just likes jiu-jitsu, it's his hobby. Regardless of which end of the spectrum you're on, skill acquisition should always be the thing that you emphasize the most. So that's the foundation, but my answer will be contingent on which side of the spectrum you reside on. Okay, if you've got big aspirations and you want to be one of the best in the world, if you're in Scotland and you want to be one of the best in the world, you need to seek out the best in the world or seek out people who learn from the best in the world, right? When I started, I had some very, very good coaches in Scotland, still my coaches to this day. But you understand, for me to get to a level that currently did not exist in Scotland, I had to get that external plug-in. So I went to, as we discussed, TriStar, Henzo's, B-Team. I think now, you could now in Glasgow find that level of training here, right? And of course, I use myself as an example because I've learned from those guys firsthand. You've got like your instructional DVDs and things like those things are relatively recent, didn't exist when I first started them as coming up. Those are always a good form of external plug-in because at the end of the day, you're still getting that information from that source, right? But of course, it's not the same as first person, right? I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of like young me, right? If I was 18 and there was a guy in Glasgow that was essentially affiliated with the best guys in the world, represents them, like I'm going to that guy. Do you know what I mean? This is specifically from like if I want to start jiu-jitsu and that's my advice. But of course, there's many other reputable gyms. People have been there for years. My advice to someone who's looking to go far as one of the best, seek out the things that I've just described. But comes back to the original point I made. If you're just a hobbyist, you're going to get good training pretty much anywhere. Skill acquisition is always the goal. Find the gym that works best for you. That's the way I'd put it. Always contingent on your goals.
It's good advice. Good advice. So a couple quick more questions for you. What's your go-to submission and why?
I would have said the inverted heel hook. Right. And I say would have because that's probably the submission objectively that I've hit the most in competition.
Yep.
I've probably got, let's say probably something like 70% of the submissions I've hit in competition has been that inverted heel hook. I've always loved it. It's always been a favourite of mine. I more recently I'm trying to show other parts of my game, more strangles, more guard passing, etc. But I suppose I'm going to have to stick with that inverted heel hook. It's always been my favourite. Yeah. That's my go-to. It's just devastating. It's probably the most devastating submission in the sport with regards to the injuries that it can inflict. Yeah.
You need to, if someone lands that on you need to tap pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
If they're gonna
any submission, specific to joints that are going to break, you're going to tap quickly. But the damage that can be inflicted with the inverted is right. Maybe I get my shoulder popped out in a Kimura.
Yeah.
Okay, that's bad, right? That's time off the mats.
Yeah.
But you eat that inside heel hook, you're potentially crippled, man. It goes far beyond removed for the mats. It's it's a devastating submission.
Yeah.
I think that's why psychotic me was always kind of driven to it. Plus, I've the things I know from the prerequisite positions that surround that submission. It's my favourite. I've got so much knowledge on that position. It's always been a favourite of mine.
For anybody that doesn't know what it is that's listening, you basically use the heel, you capture the heel and manipulate it in an angle which puts pressure on the ligaments in your knee.
So without getting too technical about it, when you move your leg in either direction, your knee needs to move in conjunction with the toes. The inverted heel hook essentially locks the knee in a vice and moves the foot independently from the knee. So you're going to rupture ligaments, tendons, and in severe cases, the bone will snap.
Wow.
It's just devastating.
Nasty.
Kimura is obviously nasty. Armbars are obviously nasty, but devastating submission. And I think the psychos like me favour that submission.
Those seem to be more popular, and you seem to see more submissions in that style, more heel hooks and stuff, I think, in the last few years, right? In the way,
yeah,
the way
it was, you know, the meta, if you will, for a long time. They're still very prevalent today. Essentially what I'm saying is, if you're not proficient in leg locks, even if it's not your A game, if you're not proficient with them, you're going to get murdered. The meta today is going more towards the amalgamation of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but leg locks is still very much a prevalent part in that. And like I said, even if it's not your A game, like if you don't know them and you compete no-gi, you're going to get murdered.
Okay, what are your plans going forward then? You've just opened up the gym here, but are you gonna continue to compete?
So, with regards to going forward, yes, I'm definitely still going to continue to compete. I've not even really scratched the surface of what I know I can achieve. My biggest goal still currently is to get to ADCC Worlds. We discussed that earlier. For those that might not know what it is, it's the Olympics of the sport, and you can't just go to that. You have to be invited, and the ways you get invited are by winning a regional qualifier, like the actual Olympics, or being a returning champion, a returning podium placer, general very, very big name, things like this. I've historically done very well in the regional trial, like the European trials. I got silver, which you can't get fucking closer than that. It's heartbreaking, man. Even to this day, it's heartbreaking that I got so close. But I always knew I could win it. Of course, I haven't proved that yet, but fuck, there's no really real way to like put strength in your words. Like, you got silver. I know I can fucking win it, man.
Yeah.
What also gives me confidence is like guys. I've beaten guys who've been to ADCC Worlds. Guys have been invited to ADCC Worlds who placed further down than me. I know I can be there. If it's not via an invite or a reserve, someone drops out, I'm going to have to win that trial. I'm in my opinion, the second hardest division. 77's the hardest. I'm in 66. Regardless of that, I know I can win it, man. I feel to some extent I've proved that. Of course, I can't say I've proved that. I've not won it yet, but I fucking know I can do it. That's the big goal for me. But I've got other goals too, you know. I'm going to focus on the gym a lot, of course, but yeah, I'm not done, man. Like, I know I can make it to the ADCC Worlds. That's the big goal for me.
Good. Listen, I'm sure you can. I've obviously been watching your recent matches and stuff, and I've been into the gym and had a wee row and felt the level. So I'm excited to see what happens for you. I'm excited to watch.
I've got so much.
Watch it all come together.
I really just want to make my name synonymous with like the best guys in the world at 66 kilos. I believe I've done that to an extent, but not to the extent I know I can. Yeah. So ADCC is just a part in that.
Wicked. What are your links? Or your social handles? Where can people find you?
So, Cammy Donnelly on Instagram, Metatech Academy on Instagram. We've got the website metatechacademy.co.uk, pretty much on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, that's where you'll find us. Find the gym, Portman Street, Glasgow, directly next door to Kinetic Boxing. Yeah, hit us up, come in the gym, come and check it out, even if you don't train and you want to like maybe get your foot in the door, come and watch, just come and see the place, man. Like, we do it a little bit different here with regards to what we do on the mat and just what you see surrounding the mats. Come in and like just give it a shot, man.
Definitely, would highly recommend that.
Thanks, man.
Well, listen, thanks very much for coming on, mate. It's been really
good. That was amazing. Again,
yeah.
These always fly in, man. I love to talk pure shite. So thanks for having us on, man. It flew in. Cheers, man.
Cheers,
man.
Thanks.
Cheers.